Words are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Freemo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you'll always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the hosts that prank called the Skype test call lady? Who the hell does that?
Welcome to BGFG episode 307. I am your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Freemo Z. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing well, in spite of, and we'll get to that later. Just real quick, because, you know, I got to point this out.
Yeah.
You'll get confused if I don't.
Okay.
This is 307.
Yeah.
You were correct with that.
Yeah.
Look at your show notes.
Oh, what the hell did I put?
308.
Oh, well.
Douchebag. You know, just when you go to put the show together and you're looking for the links and stuff for 307 and you can't find them.
That's the reason why. Nice. So, how you been? You been all right?
I've been better than some, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, not coming down for breakfast is Kirk Douglas.
I know that one hits.
103 though. Come on, he lived a good life.
Yeah, and you know, from everything I saw, he was happy to the end. You know, it's not like he turned into one of these crotchety old men either. You know.
No, he didn't turn.
If you have the kind of money that he's got, it's probably easy to stay happy when you're that age.
Yeah, you can buy happiness. I mean, come on. People say you can't, and I get it, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man. Yeah. You kind of can. I mean, it's not that bad.
You got that kind of money. It doesn't matter if you crap yourself. You just pay someone to clean it up.
Yeah, we put the link to the IMDb article on him because if you don't know who Kirk Douglas is, and you might not, just go look at his body of work. It was
probably
epic.
On the wrong podcast. If you're too young to know who Kirk Douglas is, then stick around because we love to have you.
Yeah.
But you're not going to really know anything we're talking about.
Yeah, not at all. So, you know, we got kind of a big show. Going to attack a few things that we like to attack, and get in some good information on some gaming stuff that's been kind of perplexing recently. So let's get into this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news, I thought it was funny that in our constant attack with Facebook, which I'm perfectly for, and Mark Zuckerberg, well, they have no regard for anybody or anything, really.
Raise your hand if you've been on the front lines against Facebook since day one.
That would be you. Yeah, I know. I know.
And if you still have never had a Facebook account.
Yeah, I know that too. Yeah, I mean, I was on Facebook for a while, and it was just mostly for business, and it was awful. It was just awful. And when the wife and I got off of Facebook, and I've said this in the podcast before, when we got off of Facebook, our spam alone dropped by like 40%. I mean, I shouldn't even say it was more than that because it was so significant that you noticed.
You finally learned her middle name.
That's funny. Yeah, douche. So this girl, Sheryl Sandberg, I'm not even gonna.
I'm sorry. Hey, that's what you pay me for. To bring the funny.
Glad somebody's getting paid.
That one came right out. Couldn't help it. Sorry.
So Sheryl Sandberg, she left Google in 2008 to go work for Facebook as the chief operating officer. And what's funny is that one of the first things that she noticed was that they were lacking, I guess for lack of a better term, they were lacking some tax dodging, which, can't really surprise you when it comes to Facebook, can it?
Oh, you mean a young 20-something overnight billionaire didn't understand how to hide his money?
Yeah. I mean, and shame on the IRS for all the stuff that they do to people. And again, sometimes people are at fault with it, but for all the things they do, I think it's kind of funny that they attacked Microsoft for tax dodging and moving their funds overseas. But Mark Zuckerberg did it. As soon as this lady came in, we say Mark Zuckerberg for many reasons, but the company itself moved all of its stuff to Dublin, which gave it, tax breaks or whatever over there. And they kind of floated their business through the U.S. so they didn't have to pay the proper taxes, which I think is complete bullshit.
I don't disagree with you. Our tax code is in dire need of being scrapped completely. Income tax in and of itself is illegal. We just go along with it because they told us we had to.
Yeah, and it's not even, the IRS isn't even an overseen company. Is that even a word? Overseen, oversought?
Oversight.
Yeah, there's no oversight for anything to do with them at all, which makes you kind of wonder.
The rogue.
They're rogue. I don't know if they're rogue free.
I mean, here's the thing. Everybody complains because corporations have all these tax breaks, tax loops, whatever.
Yep.
Every single individual in this country could incorporate and hire yourself out. So my job's with a particular company.
Yeah.
My company hires me out to that company. So everything I make runs through my corporation.
Yeah.
And you can do the exact same thing.
It's laundering.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. But everybody complains, the companies, they get this, they get that. Every single person in this country could do the exact same thing if they wanted to take the time and the effort to do it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So you can't get pissed at Facebook or Zuckerberg for doing this. It's available. Who wouldn't, right? I mean, if you had the wherewithal and the means to do it, you would do the same thing. So the only way to take care of the situation is to just redo the entire tax code.
Yeah, but again, I mean, the IRS doesn't have to answer to anybody. There's no reason why they would have to redo the tax code. We've had, politicians after politicians talk about how they're going to change the tax brackets and the tax code. And the bottom line is, yeah, you can blame Zuckerberg in some ways. I mean, the guy's a complete douchebag, and he doesn't give a fuck about anything, man. He doesn't even care. He doesn't even care if they're unpopular. Like when they first started.
But that's a whole separate issue. I mean, him personally, his philosophy and the way he goes about things sucks. It does.
But he's doing that with the business. That's another reason why they would put, the business headquarters in another country to be allowed to do certain things.
Yeah.
He simply, when they first started, the whole idea was to get popularity in Facebook and get it going on. And when Facebook recently was on a call with analysts, Zuckerberg said, that they were always worried at the beginning about offending people. And then right after that, it was in order to be trusted, people need to know what you stand for. Well, what do you stand for? You stand for tax dodging? Do you stand for, fake political ads, which is, you and I have both talked about it. It's abundantly clear. Like Twitter doesn't do political ads because they can be biased and flat out lies. I mean, anybody can make their own political ad and post it on Facebook, which is what's happening. People are posting their own, tilted opinions and filling in the blanks and then posting them. And other people, not knowing people, the people that you and I know that get their quote unquote news from Facebook on a daily, are the people that are reading these things and going, oh my God, Bernie Sanders, I don't know, Bernie Sanders once was drunk driving and hit somebody. You know, something that's completely untrue, but because they read it on Facebook, it's completely true to them.
Right.
I mean, you don't have a problem with that.
No, I said that's a whole separate issue, and I don't like that. I was talking specifically about the tax thing.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's you're
I don't know,
the
man.
head of that company,
I think,
though.
I think he's. I mean, you want me to break it down? I think he's in the running for top 5 candidates of the Antichrist. But I mean, that's how I actually feel about Zuckerberg. But I was just talking about the tax issue.
Yeah, he's. I mean,
I was compartmentalizing.
It's pretty funny that even when he was pinched by the FTC, you know, the settlement. What kind of settlement did you have for $5 billion? Not to mention it was $5 billion. You know,
Yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah, I want to live long enough to see, you know, Facebook completely fail and just drop off the face of the earth. Which
before that happens, they'll be absorbed by AOL. What? That's a true statement. You know it is.
what the fuck with AOL, man? How do they keep buying shit? I don't get it.
I can't prove it because I haven't found the necessary documentation. But
I know you're looking.
I'm fairly sure it's a front for a particular government agency, and they have a knack for keeping things out there that should no longer exist. Because they like to hold on to the information and the infrastructure that these companies provide them.
Yeah. And
you know,
they have a wonderfully large server farm, so it's going to do them just fine. They're going to be just fine. What they should use their
BlackBerry, soon Facebook.
Do you remember?
If they get a hold of some companies that we want to see stick around.
Oh, that'll never happen. Look at Palm. Palm's long gone. Nokia.
Yep.
The list goes on of companies, and it's ironic that several of those companies are the same company that absorbed them. But do you remember when we were younger and you had that screensaver that would come on? That, oh my gosh, why can't I? Folding, the folding screensaver, where you could, so you could help do diagnostics and stuff with the free CPU power. That's what I wish AOL and Google and a lot of these large server farms would do. I think Amazon does do something like that with their S series or S3, I think it's called. But I'm not sure if anybody else does. What they should do is help out with a lot of curing of diseases. You know, I heard there's a medicine now for diabetes 2, type 2 diabetes, metformin, I think it was called. That will actually
hold on. It's metformin.
Yeah, they tested 180,000 people, and it will actually prolong in some cases your life. Now, I thought this
beyond what you would have even if you were healthy.
Yeah, it's not a cure
from diabetes.
It's not a cure for diabetes at all. But what it does do is show, and the unfortunate thing is that as diabetes progresses, unfortunately, if it does progress, that those pills become obsolete because you have to have something stronger. So they can't really use those pills anymore. But the fact that you can still have those pills, and then I just think
it basically keeps your diabetes in check, but there's some anti-cancer properties that they found out come along with it. So you're still living with diabetes, but now you're not having to worry about other things.
So this was published by a leading diabetes journal, and I think it's kind of, again, you know, I hate to do it free, but there's definitely something to do here with Big Pharma. You know, this is not the first time we've heard this, and I implore people, all you sheeple, click on this link for this particular story and keep it. because it's going to disappear like all the other ones that we've talked about. Because this is something that's definitely positive, and Big Pharma's going to shut it down. If it has anti-cancer properties in it, don't you think that they should utilize those more? Maybe. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
If you look within the article, there's one sentence in there that lets you know where this is headed. It says, it compares it to another classification of drugs. It says that metformin does not cause weight gain, hypoglycemia, impaired recovery after heart attacks, etc. So it doesn't have all these other side effects. So it's basically nothing but positive. So yeah, it's gone. It will fade into the ether.
It's the same thing with the
help us.
It also reminds me of the where the hell was I going with this crap? It reminds me of hell, I forgot it. Thought I had it, but I didn't. It was something to the effect of something I read the other day about the stem cell research. So if we can look at things on the genetic level, like in stem cell research, you have wrestlers. We talked about it on a previous show. You have wrestlers. You have a bunch of people that are heading down south to have these stem cell treatments that are significantly helping them. You think
let me clarify down south. He's not talking about where I'm at. He's talking about a little bit further. Down with our Brown brothers.
Oh gosh.
What?
Oh, that's gonna give me some hate mail.
Yeah, send that to primoz at 30ish@gmail.com.
So
Phoenix checks that on a regular basis.
Fremo doesn't. I just think it's funny that we're at this verge now where we have this genetic research. It's available. It is. We've cloned several things. We even have children that apparently been cloned in Asia, I think somewhere. I don't even remember exactly where. And that goes against what? The Geneva Convention Free? Is that what that is? No, it can't be Geneva Convention. Anyway, it's some sort of worldwide agreement that we're not going to do genetic testing. But it's proven positive. Now we're having drugs that, and again, I can speak to it on my parents, before they passed, where you have one drug that leads into another drug that leads into another drug that leads into another drug. You're constantly doing that. Even my own wife, in some cases, she has to take this drug for this particular issue, and this one has to counter the side effects. So it's that ongoing pharma run. But then when you have something that can be done genetically, and cure people or save people or make their living easier.
Well, that's the thing. They don't want to leave anything on the market that actually is a cure. They want to continue to treat symptoms.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it that's like the lifetime tire. They exist for all practical purposes. I mean, obviously things can happen. You can curve it and blow it out, whatever.
Right.
But they had tires that you literally could put on a car and you never have to put new tires on it while you own the car for 10 years, 15 years. But they're not going to do that.
No.
Because then the tire manufacturers suffer.
Oh, and then we can get into the whole electrical grid thing.
Yeah, and you're all in bed, and they're all in bed together. So that's the same thing with doctors and big pharma. They don't want to cure people because if they cure you, you're not coming back in, and they're not making their money.
I don't know about all the doctors. I can't agree with that. But big pharma, yes.
I'm not saying all the doctors. Let me back off of that and say the medical insurance field.
Oh, okay.
Your insurance companies and your big pharma have a stranglehold on a lot of medical professionals.
Oh, they certainly do.
And what's crazy is they turn around and abandon them when things come up like lawsuits against doctors who prescribed medicines.
Opioid epidemic.
Yeah. They're pushing these doctors, giving them kickbacks, and now these doctors are getting sued left and right. Although, did you see where there was a lawsuit against the actual manufacturer of one of these brands?
No. There was?
Yeah, an actual lawsuit against them because there had been so many of their actual branded pill prescribed with no generic, and just because the sheer volume of it, they've been involved in a class action lawsuit. I'll have to go back and find that one.
Oh, that'd be a good read. Yeah, you gotta send that to me, because I there's nothing I love better than Big Pharma getting it in the ass. Absolutely. Let's move into our music segment, and I think I have you stumped yet again. So this week it's I didn't even know how to say it properly. KALEO, I think it is. And
KALEO, yeah.
And this is Break My Bitch. No, I'm sorry, it's Break My Baby.
Bitch or baby?
I thought it would sound better as Break My, All right, we'll catch you on the other side for some gaming news and some other fun stuff. That was so good. Fremo's still not back. But that song was so good. So, what'd you think?
I think that's another winner, man. That's I did a little research while the song was playing, and they are rightly identified as an indie alternative blues rock band.
Yeah, that nails it right in the head.
Yeah, from Iceland of no places.
Yeah, it sounds so good. I love when we find new music to bring to people because music's so good and it's so in mainstream media right now. Fremont and I have talked about it before, and we'll probably do a whole segment on it at some point with just how mainstream media has kind of ruined the way music is brought. I mean, look at mumble rappers and
it's 100%
like no rock.
It's all a formula now.
Yeah.
Which is why you very rarely have artists that have any longevity anymore.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. It really is.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some phenomenal people that have come through in the last 10 years, but there's no longevity. Very few of them, very few of them.
And again, I can appreciate it because the record industry as a whole has to try to survive, really, with the digital age. People can easily just post stuff online. We start a band. We do a bunch of shows up here, a bunch of shows down where you are. Post all of our stuff online. We have a band website. If we can get 3 people at each one of those shows to post our video or our song on their Facebook page, it's going to, it's not going to go viral necessarily, but it will reach a larger audience very quickly.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, the record industry is trying to survive. In fact, I was reading the other day, it almost made the show, that there's only 2 companies in the world anymore that are making vinyl records, which you can talk good or bad about vinyl records. I love vinyl records, that natural analog sound, hearing the needle. I love that, but there's only 2 companies that press the albums, actually make the plastic platters type thing, and one of them just burnt to the ground. I shouldn't be laughing, that's not right, but yeah, one of them burnt to the ground, and shortage of albums.
Looks like somebody might be having a monopoly.
Let's get into stick style.
Gaming.
The first thing up this week, and again, video gaming is so subjective that Fremont and I play pretty much anything that's thrown our way as long as it's decent. I've had arguments with people at work as well as my own kids about monitors and frame rates and consoles versus PC Master Race versus Stadia. I mean, there's a lot of options now.
Well, I'm going to boil it down to this. If you're actually a gamer, you'll play on a 13-inch monitor with your nose pressed up to it, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, and it's not like we haven't done that, our generation. But I want to talk a little bit about curved monitors versus flat monitors.
And you'll play, platform, you'll play PC.
Yeah.
But yeah, get into it. Curved monitors. What do you think the benefits of a curved monitor is? How's it going to improve your gaming?
Well, sir, it's going to improve my gaming by, what the hell is this? It's so curved monitors just first flat. I have quite a few here in the little Phoenix Media Group studios here. I have a 32-inch Samsung curved. I have a 27-inch Apple high definition flat, and then a 34-inch ultra wide LG, which is really wide, not ultra wide, I don't think. And then I have the 49-inch ultra wide that I'm on now, which is that big Samsung huge thing. And here's what I can tell you from all of them. Oh, and let's not forget my Alienware. Did I ever tell you about the Alienware monitor? I don't know if I ever did. Oh, so I got the Alienware 34-inch monitor at some point, maybe months back, six months back or so. An absolutely stunning, phenomenal monitor, slight curve, just a great monitor. And I was so excited, and it was crisp, it was clear, and it looked great. And I dropped it, not necessarily dropped it, but it tipped. And when it tipped, it hit the corner of the desk, my old desk. And that was enough to shatter the screen.
Because of the tension on it, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't have enough. But so I've had a good amount of different ones. And the curvature is going to depend on the monitor, I believe, more than anything else. And I can tell you that working on the 27-inch Apple monitor that we used to do the show on before we came back here was nice. I mean, it's a 27-inch high-definition monitor. But when you go to a widescreen, it's a different ballgame for you. Totally different ballgame. And now, with that said, I have two monitors that are widescreen. One's curved and one is not. And I have to say that the non-curved one is weird now. So, I mean, what do you at work especially, are you running flats or curved?
Oh, yeah, flat.
So
if
now,
I put one curved monitor in, I got to have a budget to replace everybody's because, one person sees that somebody has this and everybody's got to have it.
Yep. Now, with the multiple monitor setup, especially, let's say 3 monitors, because that's kind of like, if you're a geek and you're watching the show, odds are you have the dream or you already own 3 monitors. You have the middle one that you're doing all your shit on, but then the other 2 on the sides are actually, you turn them towards you anyway. So you're actually simulating a curved screen to begin with. So I think when it comes to curved and flat, you're going to go curved. You're going to enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. If you got the money, curved it's nice. It does give you that whole peripheral feeling,
Yeah.
It makes three dimensions more realistic as opposed to a flat monitor. So I mean, it'd be great if we all had a nice big curved monitor in front of us, but is it essential?
No, it's not. And the reason why I think that we can educate people on is the fact that even if you want to get an ultra wide, you're going to make sacrifices. There is no one monitor within any price range that does it all. There's a couple of things you want to consider. So the milliseconds in refresh time is like how long it takes whatever's coming out of your video card to show up on the screen, and it's measured in milliseconds. Personally, I don't know how Fremo feels. Get your opinion in a second. I feel that 1 millisecond versus 4 millisecond, I'm not a professional competition gamer. So to me, that doesn't matter. What about you? The millisecond refresh.
That really comes down to the game you're playing.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, it really does, because there's certain. I mean, you're playing a side scroller. You don't need a fast refresh rate. You're playing realistic sim driver or first person shooter, Call of Duty, type deal. Yeah, you want that refresh rate to be as quick as possible. You don't want to miss that guy's head bobbing up from behind the barrel at 200 yards.
No, but that's going to take you into your frequency or your megahertz of the monitor. So we grew up on, 60 megahertz. 60. So the 60 hertz monitors, is it megahertz or hertz? It's hertz. I just drew a blank. The 60s are going to get you, and you're kind of limited to your frames per second by how quickly your monitor is. So if it's 60 megahertz or 120 or 140 or the new 240s, and I think at CES there was a couple of 320s, but you're going to be limited on that monitor as to what you can do for frame rates, which I think is also kind of bullshit. And this is where I get into arguments with my kids and I get into arguments with people at work, customers. Which would you rather have?
That's right, folks. The county of Rhode Island is the one place in the world where the customer is not always.
You're damn right. And I'll tell them that. I have no problem in doing that at all. I want to make anybody make an educated decision. And when they come in there to shop for their kids or whatever, and their kid's like, I need this 240. Really? What do you got for a card? I have a 1660. Okay, it's a good card, but you're really not going to need a 240 megahertz monitor.
You're not getting the benefit of that monitor with that card. So what I would recommend is you upgrade your card to this while you're buying this monitor.
Yeah, let them know that this is a good pair up. And there's a lot of other factors, so don't start sending email or hitting us up on Twitter telling us how stupid we are. This is basic budget stuff. See, this is for the generation of us, the Generation X, that, either we're going to go all out or we're not. You're going to have...
you're going to decide that your kid's college fund is not as important as your satisfaction in your gaming life.
And you're going to get that Asus 4K monitor. So, but you're going to have a trade-off in every one. So, like, I've seen the 4K stuff, and I've had people at work, coworkers, that have sat there and said that they've played on a 4K monitor and they'll never play on anything else. I have a spare monitor that I've played on recently in the 1080p. I like 1080. I don't have a problem with that. For me, that works. But then there's other people that have, I got to have it on HDR. I don't like the way HDR looks. Me, I don't. But you have so many different factors, G-Sync and FreeSync. FreeSync is good for just about everything. And G-Sync is for NVIDIA cards only. And we'll get into that in a second because, again, you're trying to figure out what is the best possible scenario for you to get a monitor with a good price for a decent amount. Now, we've told you that, what our kind of picks are. And we told you about the megahertz of the monitor and the widescreen or the short screen. And then you have the 1080, 4K, or HDR specific. You need to pick two. This is like that old story. You can have it fast. What the hell is it, Free? Fast, cheap, and quick. You got to pick two. No, that can't be right.
No, it's fast, cheap, or good.
Yeah. And you have to pick two.
You can have fast and good, and you're going to pay for it. You can have cheap and good, and it's going to be less. But, and you can have fast and cheap, but you can't have all three.
Right. It's the same thing with monitors, people. And the few monitors that are out there that have everything under the sun are stupid money, like $1,000. They're just way too expensive. Yeah. And this idiot right here on the other side of the camera has done those stupid things. For instance, my 49-inch ultra-wide Samsung. It is a massive, massive monitor. It is wonderful. I have dual 1080p screens if I need to, dual inputs, but looking from left to right. And if you're watching on video, I am literally looking from corner to corner. It is insanely big, and it takes you like a week or so to get used to it. The footprint is massive. I had to buy a wall-mounted stand, a wall-mounted stand for the monitor in hopes that it would hold the weight because there was just absolutely zero desk space. A lot of these get returned at work because people take it out of the box and they go, holy shit, I have no room for my keyboard, my computer, or anything else because it's a massive desk.
I gotta get a bigger desk.
Yeah, I have a 6-foot desk and it takes up the majority of that. I think, and you know what, first what is your pick for a monitor? If I told you that I was going to Best Buy today or Target.
To buy me a monitor?
Yeah. And I said, I want to get a gaming monitor, midway, mid price range. What would you recommend?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm kind of spoiled. All the monitors I get through work. So I don't know.
Really? Well, that's true. And I see a lot. So on the other side, where Fremo has to get business type monitors, and he knows what works in a practical atmosphere. Where I, on the other hand, get to look at all the stuff that people buy, and then they have regrets right away, and they return them.
Right.
So it's usually the high-end stuff that they'll get home and go, man, this $800 monitor isn't much better than my $200.
Monitors are like any other electronic component. Yes, if you have the money, can you go buy a top-of-the-line monitor and then put it on your desk? Sure. Are you going to see any practical benefit from it? Well, it depends on what you're doing with it. If you're pulling up your Gmail and checking your Facebook, then you've wasted a bunch of money.
Yeah, it's
a bunch of money.
You should have bought a Chromebook.
Look at how crisp that is. Well, okay, great, but this monitor over here that costs literally 25% of what you just paid is going to look just as good scrolling through your Facebook feed.
Exactly. And it's when it comes to gaming or video editing that you're going to see these big differences.
Right.
So one of the other things I wanted to touch on, I know that there's like a no segue for it because it's going to come back around in a second, but this whole thing came up because I was at GameStop to pick up my pre-order pop vinyl of Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And there's some people talking about different monitors and stuff, and they're boasting, oh yeah, it's computers are way better, and your console isn't doing shit. It's like, but you're in GameStop to buy console stuff, so don't tell us that. Now, our generation grew up on consoles, which essentially were 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
And nowadays, 60 frames should look fine.
That's about to change with the next generation.
Yeah, and I agree, and it should. But at the same time, 60 frames should be fine for you. And when I was at GameStop, I was looking around, and it really kind of, like...
Y'all still have those?
That's what I'm saying. It seemed like it was like almost like a ghost town. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but how many times we kind of, in not so many words, you and I met each other at an electronics boutique, you could say. Because we both bought our systems the same day. We both went online the same day. So essentially we would have met. If we lived near each other, we would have met at an electronics boutique, which turned into GameStop. And unfortunately, with all the stuff that happened last year with the employees and people that I know personally that have worked at GameStop, and how many problems there are, and how shitty they are as a company, they were still the place to go to get your limited edition stuff, your pop vinyls. And then when they took in ThinkGeek, which again was one of those situations where in 2015 they bought ThinkGeek. By 2019, ThinkGeek was no more, and it was just absorbed completely into the company of GameStop.
Right.
But I don't know about you, but I want to see them succeed.
Well, I do too, but the closest one to me is no longer there.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I actually saw it last week. I was over that way, and I was like, well, maybe I'll swing in there and just see. And I look up at the building, and I'm like, what? Why is there a hair salon here?
I told my wife Liza, November, December of last year, we were shopping, getting Christmas stuff done, and I told her, I said, we were in GameStop, and I'm like, this isn't gonna. I'd be surprised if it comes out of 2020 alive. I love GameStop, and I love the fact that they're doing more of the ThinkGeek stuff, which is nice. But now one of the employees was telling me that they just had this kind of revamped look done, where they had to take away a lot of stuff because the store was getting busy. It was getting crowded in the store itself, and they wanted to empty that out a little bit, which I kind of get, but they emptied it out way too friggin' much. And the stuff that you went in there for, besides games, like all the gimmicks and statues and everything that you had at ThinkGeek, there wasn't that many of them anymore. And, digital downloads have basically hurt their business. And at this point, we're really hoping that, the Series X, the Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation 5 that are coming out in the holiday season of 2020, I honestly think that's going to make or break them free. I think that's their last ditch attempt, and they're going to have to come correct. They're going to have a bunch of specials.
They're actually in a unique position as well. Internet game cafes, whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
They could transition into that without, because that whole thing never really took off because it was all independent. It was all
here and there. Yeah, it was like you never knew where you're going to find one.
They've got the storefront, they've got the space, they've got the hardware.
Yep.
They could turn into that's your local competition spot where you go in and even if you're bringing in your own hardware or whatever, they're hosting the local / regional gaming competitions there.
Yeah, which I think is very cool. It's kind of like, think of it like the farm league.
Pull more people into professional gaming,
right? Which is a real thing, people. Real thing. I don't know.
It absolutely is.
I've had people scoff at it, but that is some real shit right there, man. These guys are making $10,000 for one event out of like 7 or 8. There
was a couple of clans that I was associated with over the years that we got real close to pulling the trigger on going competitive. We just couldn't ever get it worked out. And another guy and I actually tried to get the Major League Gaming annual competition to Chattanooga one year, and we came down to two cities. And we got beat out by the other city. They were a little bit larger than us. Didn't have the infrastructure, didn't have the backbone that we had, but we lost out just basically because the size of the city.
I think it's a brilliant transition that GameStop does if they do it. You know, if you're
I think they need to. I think they need to. You know, you've got the World Series of Poker, right? Look at that business model. You've got this big annual event. Everybody watches it. You know, it's a big deal, you know, for people that are interested in that. But it all starts with
preliminaries,
local and regional contest, and somebody has to host that, and somebody has to put it on. And they could very easily, with the right partnerships, turn themselves into that while still doing what they do.
And they
actually would increase their sales of what they do now.
Absolutely.
Because that's where you're going to compete. So, you know, you're gonna have people in there all the time.
And you could absolutely transition that and add to it by like doing custom builds for computers and stuff with source parts, or having a branded computer. Everybody's doing it now. Why not have a branded
you know, competition approved accessories?
Yep. And they, you know, they want to.
This is where you get your controller that's certified
by the gaming league or something.
By the gaming league. This is where you buy it.
Yep.
This is where you use it. This is where you play. This is where you qualify. This is where you get into the big leagues.
Yeah. You know, you want to go to that regional tournament in Boston, or in your case, it'd be Nashville. You want to go to that regional tournament? Well, you're going to have to beat a bunch of people at a bunch of different GameStop locations, or, you know, areas that are having qualifying rounds or ranked competitions. And you're going to get a large, and people don't think this is funny. I mean, it's one thing to do the Overwatch League, and I'm not shitting on anybody here, but Free One, I'll tell you, you know what, Free, let's talk about something that we know, like racing games. You know, both of us were nationally ranked at times on PGR. Both of us.
Actually, we were both internationally ranked in the top 100.
But that was work. I mean, Fremont, I will tell you, that shit was work. I mean, that was a regular game, but that was work.
It's not like you jumped on and you won a couple races and you're ranked in the top 100 worldwide. You had to put in your time. Yeah, you had to run tracks, you had to practice, you know, get the licks down and run the times. But one of the things that I think we both learned really was that wouldn't be where the money is. That's where the recognition can be, but the money was in like Alto Corsair, I think is the name of the game. That one is a legitimate simulator of a car game that you can win thousands and thousands of dollars in leagues and tournaments that go across everywhere. This is the post facto. One of the things that is a big competition still that you would know more about than me, because I never got into it, was CSGO, Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's been a competitive game forever. And those people make serious money. You know, now you're seeing the Fortnite people and you're seeing the PUBG people, and they have Gears and they have Overwatch. And if you can get good at those, that's great. But remember one thing, for our generation, whether you're talking about your kids or you're talking about, you know, you yourself, you're going to want to jump into this. You know, you got GameStop sitting there wanting to be the Pop Warner of League esports, which Fremont and I will tell you, that's a hell of an idea. Do it, and do it now. But you're going to get into some serious shit. I mean, it's serious shit. This isn't just I'm going to grab. I mean, yeah, you can grab your Xbox and play off your Xbox or your PlayStation, and that's great. And they'll have leagues geared toward that. But where the leagues really differentiate and get really big money is computer gaming. In order to get your computer rig set up. We had a conversation years and years ago about will consoles ever kill PC gaming, and I emphatically said no. It just won't happen. Your hardcore gamers will always be PC gamers. Yeah. Always.
I was against PC gaming for a very long time. And then when my wife turned around and said, stop building computers for everybody else and build one for yourself, I was ecstatic. I didn't even know where to begin because I'm so used to finding. I mean, somebody comes up to you and says, "I need this, this, and this," and then you go, "Okay, well, what's your budget? Let me figure out your budget." When your significant other turns to you and goes, "Go ahead, build one. Here's your budget," and it's a huge budget because you've made money doing it for other people. It becomes really cool, but not everybody has that budget, and I think this is important to address. I became part of that PC master race. Don't think that Freemo and I don't like to play our PlayStations and our Xboxes. They are fun. 60 frames a second. Everybody's on there. Easy to use. It's a great platform. But at the same time, don't discount the PC master race.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. Now that Microsoft has gone cross-platform.
Oh yeah.
With their gaming.
Yep.
You're going to see people, instead of dropping $500 for a new console every couple years, they're going to drop that $500 into their rig that they're building, because you can go on right now into Fortnite,
yep,
and other games that are highly popular, and you can tell who the PC gamers are in there.
Oh yeah.
Just by the fact that they're 10 times better than you no matter what.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's on PC. And one of the significant things that you'll see first and foremost, and my son, free. Because I know your son does it too. But my son.
There's actually a switch in Fortnite that you can turn off cross-platform and play console only, because it's that much of a disparity in Fortnite.
And my I don't know about your kid, but my kid busts my balls consistently, because even on the PC, I personally enjoy playing with my controller. I have the adapter and I play with my controller, my Elite controller for Xbox. I love it. But I will be the first one to say, without getting nauseous, I cannot turn. Maybe it's my age. I cannot turn as quickly as I used to, or as PC gamers like Freemo was saying. I can't. There's no way. These people are doing. Look at Shroud. Go watch Shroud on Twitch. Oh, he's a Mixer now. That you're talking about 180 spins that it would make me sick immediately. Or there was a girl I was watching free, and you would totally appreciate it. She had this very long mouse pad kind of on her vertically on her desk instead of horizontally.
Yeah.
What she would do is she had a sniper rifle, and she would put her arm almost fully extended on the desk, and then she would click off 3 rounds, bang, 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 as she pulled down, so the recoil didn't matter. And again, once you have that timing, recoil really doesn't matter. You can do it on a controller, but it's going to be a shit ton easier to do on the PC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can't get. I don't care how sensitive you make your controller, you'll never beat the sensitivity of a mouse.
Nope.
Ever.
So let's get into one of the things that I have literally been salivating to get into with you on this show. And I've looked through the archives. We really have never done this. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about things that you need to do to beef up your system or to get into another system. Because a lot of us that are our age are rocking, and trust me, I see it, and Freemo does too, every damn day. You're bringing us that old computer that's been good for you for a while, but you kind of want to do the gaming thing again because the kids are getting older and you have some free time, but your computer's the absolute shit, and you can't run anything today. And like Freemo was saying, one of the first things, let's just say, you can play Xbox on your PC through Xbox or Microsoft's Xbox app, for lack of a better term. It's got an overlay and an Xbox button to bring up your friends list. It's very, very, very good. You have Steam on the PC. Shit ton of games. They have a big screen mode that works really, really well. That looks like very much like a console game. There's the Origin Game Pass for a year. It's $100 for a year, and you get unlimited Origin games. I have that one as well. That one is phenomenal. We want to talk about your gear, because what you're going to play is your choice. I have PlayStation Now and remote PlayStation apps on the PC, so I can dial into my consoles downstairs and still play them through my PC. One of the first things we'll touch on before we get into the nitty-gritty is the fact that it really doesn't matter what screen you choose. As we talked about screens before, and I said that we're going to bring it all completely forward. The best screen, and Freemo will agree with me in like 30 seconds, the best screen you can possibly play on right now on a PC, in my opinion, get this stats, but figure out your budget, is a 34-inch widescreen. It's going to give you ample room to do multiple tasks, and it's going to give you a really enjoyable gaming experience. You can go with the 49 like mine. It's going to be too much. The 27 Freeman will say that you got to move your face forward, but if you could get a 34-inch, just perfection. All those stats that we talked about earlier, decide whatever you want, because that's going to really matter to you and your budget. You know, whether you want a 240 megahertz screen or you want a 4K screen, that's going to really matter to you, but it's also going to matter on the stuff that we're going to talk about. So first, free. Where is my sound? Oh, I don't have any good sound for this right now. Yeah, I do. First thing we're going to do, free, is the processor.
Yeah.
And the constant argument, which is best, the Intel NVIDIA combo or AMD, because they make both processors and video cards. Or is it a mixture of the two? Let's start with the processor first, free. Where do you stand, AMD or Intel?
I'm Intel.
You are Intel.
I am Intel.
And as luck would have it with Mac and PC, I am actually an AMD guy, even on my PC. I think AMD, for what I need, makes a better chip. Now, let's hear your argument for your side, your Intel side.
It all stems from early on. I mean, to be honest with you, I've not bothered to even build anything with an AMD in at least 5 to 10 years.
Okay, I'll give you that one. They've been a little shaky.
Back in the day, they were notorious for not being, you couldn't overclock them like you could in Intel.
Correct.
Without severe performance and overheating issues.
Yep.
I'm sure they've come a long way. I mean, they're still around for a reason.
Right.
But it's just, just goes back to, I know when I get an Intel that unless it's just one of those one-off chips, which everybody manufactures at some point, you're getting exactly what they say you're getting.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Intel's been around in the game longer, but AMD made a comeback last year. I think you say last year as opposed to the year before. That they have definitely come up. Under 10 nanometer processors, very, very small, able to multitask greatly without too many heating issues. I admit they haven't been around for a long period of time, but they're also the cheaper alternative. You got to give me the cost argument. No, there's no some cases. That's bullshit.
Have you seen their latest one?
Wait a minute, which one?
The 3990X that's $4,000 for one processor.
Oh, the Threadripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the AMD's top of the food chain is the Threadripper. And the top of that food chain is the 3990, which ironically costs $39.90. And I don't mean $39. I mean $3,990. It's got 64 cores, though.
Oh yeah, have you read the specs on it?
It might take some power.
It is well, not even that, but it is focus designed.
Okay.
You're not going to slap this in a gaming PC and get what you think you're going to get out of it.
You can't. You're
bullshit. I'm not saying it won't make a good gaming processor.
It's got 64 cores free.
But it's not tailored for gaming.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
And we'll get into that.
All right.
Because let's talk about.
Would you rather have?
You cut out. Oh no,
a Ferrari Hurricane to go down the straightaway in, or would you rather have?
Well, that's a Lamborghini Huracan.
I mean Lamborghini Huracan, or a one of the Dodge Hellcat versions that is purpose driven for straight drag strip racing.
I see exactly your point, though. I do. The Dodge being a drag strip car and Huracan being everything else. Yeah.
You're not gonna you take them both to the ring and hands down you know which one's gonna win.
Correct.
You take them both to the track, hands down, you know which one's going to win.
Correct.
It's not the same car either time.
Well, I think that goes.
This new processor by AMD, although you couldn't build a gaming PC around it, it's not designed for gaming.
No, and I see where you're going with that. I agree with you. AMD's products are built for everything. So for what I do, and this is again a great comparison, where you have built a computer specifically for gaming and podcasting, for the most part, and I have a computer that's literally that. My PC does everything: video editing, audio editing, graphics, gaming. It pretty much does it all. So I need to be able to separate that workload through a processor that's going to be able to do them all. And you are correct. If you look at userbenchmark.com, which love that site, brilliant. You can compare products all the time, and you really understand them better. You'll see that when we get into the video cards in a second, video cards especially, the NVIDIA and the AMD card they're neck and neck. They're in the same bracket, I should say, but they do better things. So, again, I know you're a NVIDIA fan as opposed to an AMD video card fan, GPU, correct? Oh, a nod.
Depends on.
Oh, a nod.
Depends on the application.
For gaming.
For gaming, I'd probably stick with NVIDIA.
I tend to agree. For productivity, for rendering and video editing,
probably go AMD.
I would agree there too. So we can agree on some things, but at the same time, when you look at prices, which we'll get into next, the prices are crazy. So, and we both know people that are going to get into this, and they're going to want to spend all sorts of money in their kids' inheritance, like Freemo said, college funds, on getting this massive rig to do it all. And you can get a Threadripper if you decide to go AMD. That's $4,000 for the processor alone. Which, by the way, side note, a client did have a slower Threadripper that was $1,000. And he didn't know how to put on thermal paste, and he used the entire bottle of thermal paste and destroyed the motherboard and the processor. It was wonderful. I shouldn't say that. It was really bad, but at the same time, should have had us do it. Anyway, the AMD processor, top of the food chain, is going to run you $3,990, $4,000. But at the same note, if you want to go the top of the food chain beyond an i9 will cost you $1,000. But if you want to go really high, you can go with the i9 9980 Extreme, which is a $12,000 processor. And again, it's a Xeon, so it's a server processor, just like the Threadripper handles a bunch of stuff.
Xeon. Where did I see that recently?
Here we go.
Oh, I remember now. I'll tell you later.
So, with all of the things that Freemo and I have told you, you need to make, again, an educated decision for yourself what you want to do. And we don't mean, like Freemo said earlier, I want to reiterate, this doesn't count Facebooking, checking email. If you want one of those, don't buy a high-end video card or have a custom computer built. Buy a Chromebook. They're great. Chromebooks, the Pixelbook and the Samsung, they're phenomenal computers, solid. Yeah. And that's, if you want to do that, do that. But if you're building a gaming PC, there are 3 categories you're going to look at.
Feel free to drop either one of us a line if you've got questions.
Absolutely. Bring it up on Twitter, either at Stickstyle Show or BGFG. We'll answer any questions you have. But there's 3 basic tiers you want to look at. You want to look at budget, which is enough to get by to play maybe a AAA title. Not great. You're going to lower down the graphics. But again, when it comes to graphics, Ray, I think you'll agree. I don't need to see smoke or every shadow detail. Okay, the fact that I can see a shadow makes me happy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't need to see that smoke a half mile away.
No. So you have a budget, you have a mid-range, and then you have your high-end. So for budget, you're going to go with either an i5 or an R5, which is the Ryzen chip. We could sit there, and I think you would agree, Free. There's no need for us to speak about money. Because they're going to be comparable. Whether it's the i5 processor or the AMD processor, the AMD one will be slightly less expensive. The AMD, rather, will be slightly less expensive. But again, it's nominal, because if you want an Intel, you're going to spend extra money. You're not going to think about it. And it's really only, $50, $60 free?
Yeah, it's not bad.
No. You're going to want a minimum of 8 gigs of RAM. And then for a card free, I was saying on my side, on the AMD side, I'm saying a 580. You can get them for short money, and they'll do the job adequately. Yeah. On the NVIDIA side, though, what do you think? Like for budget?
Well, for budget,
I was thinking 1660. That's a sweet card.
Yeah.
It was like $200.
I was thinking the next tier up, but yeah, I mean $200 if you do that $150 to $200 range, yeah, that'd be a perfectly suitable card.
Yeah, and you're gonna get 60 frames a second. And again, I don't even think we touched on it when we were talking about the G-Sync and FreeSync. What those do is those lock in your frame rate to give you the absolute best quality. So if you enjoy a PlayStation or an Xbox gaming experience and you think the graphics and everything look great on it as it is and the frame rate or whatever, and you don't care about any of that stuff, then turning on G-Sync and getting that on your monitor, or FreeSync and turning that on and getting a monitor that has that, either one of those two things will absolutely lock in 60 frames a second, and it'll look phenomenal, and you'll never have any glitches or issues, but you're locked in at 60 frames regardless of how much you can do. So back to this, the next tier would be the mid-range tier. Now mid-range is where I think a lot of us are going to float, don't you think, as a mid-ranger?
Well, you have a lot more options. Once you get to mid-range, you're assuming you've probably got $1,000 discretionary money. Do I want to bump up my processor? Do I want to bump up my, $1,000 above, what you budget. You build that into it because you decide you might want to upgrade this or upgrade that on the fly. So yeah, you got a whole lot more options there.
Yeah, I mean,
and prices in mid-range, prices vary wildly. I mean, you can go from $300 to $1,000 on a processor or GPU easily in a mid-range budget.
Yep. I would recommend one of the 7 series chips, either an i7, any one really. Ryzen 7, again, any one is really going to do you fine. Now you're going to bump up to 16 gigs of RAM, which is very good right now. You're going to run it it's going to be running standard with a bunch of stuff open at about 50% or so. You should be good with that. But then for a video card, I think there's only 2 choices. Whether you fall on AMD or NVIDIA side, there's only 2 choices. The 2070 card or the 5700 from AMD. Because either one of those cards are going to give you almost identical, besides ray tracing, it's going to give you pretty much identical specs. And it's going to do about the same thing, frames per second and such. And they're comparably priced. Again, AMD is always going to be a little cheaper.
Yeah.
You think that's a safe GPU assessment, don't you?
Very safe.
I mean, 2700 is a great card.
Like I said, you might decide to go to the next tier on your graphics processor. Actually, you could. This is where you could go. If you wanted to go AMD, you could bump up to the next one without spending too much more money.
Yep.
And you're going to get a little bit better performance than you would out of. I just blanked on the number. The 2600 NVIDIA.
Yeah, the 2060.
You could bump up. You could bump up one more level on AMD without spending a whole lot more money. So that might be something you want to do.
And we're talking basic rule of thumb too, because there's like when you look at the 2070 card, there's the 2070 Super. There's different companies that add different things to it, like maybe more fans or a cooler. So these are just the basics. Right. The 2070 series card, it could be any number. The 5700 series card, but now you get into the high end. So before we even get into any of the high end, because it'll make you drool, the realistic budget.
High end, folks, we're talking. You're spending minimum $5-6 grand.
Yes.
Up to whatever you decide you just want to throw away.
And we haven't even told, I mean, we're not even telling you the prices because it doesn't really matter, is the prices of the hard drives and such. But your budget PC is going to cost you, it should get you about a sub 1,000. You can do okay. And this is without RGB. Yeah. RGB can get pricey. So without RGB, budget sub 1,000. Mid-range, you're looking at about 1,000 to about, I would say 2,000 on the high end of the mid-range. Because if you were Freemo,
if you bumped up a couple of components.
Yeah, so if you go with me to the store, I'm going to get you out of there with a mid-range computer at about 1,500, and you're going to do pretty good. You go there with Freemo, you're going to end up walking out of there with $2,000, and half of that budget was just your 2080 video card. Because I have to admit that Freemo's not wrong. If you even go shitty on your motherboard and you get a 2080 card, you're pretty much all set for the next like 7 or 8 years for a video card. You don't really have to worry at all. I personally have a Radeon 7, which is their highest end. It's got 16 gigs of RAM on it. It's a great card. Unbelievably hard to get right now. I'm very lucky I got it. So on the high end, what you're going to want is you're going to want an i9, any variation of an i9 Intel processor, or a AMD Threadripper. And again, Fremont, I told you the prices. These are $1,000 processors, easy $1,000 processors.
These are processors that consume your budget and your mid range by themselves.
Yes, and then 16 gigs of RAM, which again is peanuts. But I mean, I'm sorry, 32 gigs of RAM, which isn't as expensive as you may think, but it's a good chunk. But where you're going to really spend your money on a high-end PC is that wonderful, beautiful graphics card. Yeah. On the Intel side, if I was going to recommend anything, I'm going to go with the 2080 Titanium, because the Titan I think is overkill, honestly. But the TI,
I mean, they're still good. They're still good cards, but they're dated.
Yeah, and for the AMD side, the Radeon 7, if you can find it, is a damn good card. I'm running one, and I absolutely adore it. I think it's great. And we haven't even talked about motherboards or RAM, kind of RAM, but motherboards. Or the bottom line is, with the rest of the pieces that you need, if you're getting, depending on the range, ask the person that you're buying what range would be best, or you can do the math yourself. If you're getting a budget, you probably only need like a 700 watt power supply. If you're getting mid range, you should probably go around the 850. If you're getting the high end, you're going to need like an 1100 watt PSU, which your lights should go dim when you fire that bitch up.
Right.
We built one not too long ago with a 1100 watt power supply because he was running dual 2080 Ti's. It was beautiful.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His average frame rate on Heaven Benchmark was 230 average, topped out at 600 and change. It was insanely cool. So again, the PC price is going to range. You're going to want a motherboard that has enough USB ports on the back. In my opinion, that's what you should be looking for. Everything else is not significant, really, in a motherboard. They're all going to do about the same thing. And as for the hard drives, you basically, whatever you want to do, M.2, NVMe, Samsung, doesn't matter. You want your boot drive to be a minimum of 500 gigabytes, and you want your storage drive, it can even be mechanical. You want your storage drive to be a minimum of 2 terabytes, and you're fine. You're golden.
And the price on all that stuff has come so far down. It's ridiculous.
You can get a terabyte drive now for like $50-$60.
Outside of the processor and video card, pretty much doesn't matter what range, budget, mid, or high end, you can pretty much buy almost the same components for the rest of it. Yeah. Almost. Obviously, your motherboard's going to be dictated by the processor you get, but I mean, as far as the rest of the chassis and everything, hard drives.
Personal preference, personal budget. We've had guys at our shop that came in that bought like $100 case because they didn't care. They were just building out the inside. No RGB, no nothing, just a solid, cheap case. And then we've had other people, like my son, that bought a eATX case for $300. That's the size of a small fridge. That's just It's the stupidest case ever. It's just so dumb.
Has he decided to try a water-cooled system yet?
No, but he has mentioned it because he saw Corsair actually now has that type of service.
Well, you know as well as I do, you got to try that one time.
Oh, no, I don't like that. I don't mind the water cooler, the sealed stuff, but the ones you get to build, I've seen too many horror shows. I don't want to deal with any of that. All right, let's get into our last segment. So as a huge TV fan and an Apple TV fan, I think Apple TV, not just because it's Apple, because it's an all-in-one. I just like the interface, the layout, and the fact that I can get all my apps on there. But I have been disappointed with the Apple TV type bullshit. So when Apple TV launched their quote-unquote Apple Television or Apple TV, they announced a bunch of TV shows and a bunch of shows and movies that they were working on. And it just seems to me that in standard Apple fashion, suddenly their show that has aired 2 episodes got re-signed for another season. And that same show also suddenly won or was nominated for a bunch of awards and it's barely even been on TV. It's complete bullshit. Julie Louis-Dreyfus got a deal with Apple TV and she doesn't even have an idea yet. Like they're not even sure what they're going to do. It's literally just... Here's a bunch of money. We want to lock you in. Apple just when you're a $1 trillion company, I guess you get that kind of, you get that kind of cake to spread around free.
Well, that, and when you were on Seinfeld, you can pretty much just sign a deal.
You got some money. You got some money.
Unless you're a bad guy.
But Spike Jonze is, you might remember him. Well, you might remember the Beastie Boys Sabotage video. Or Sabotage.
Yeah.
He directed that, and he's been tight with the Beastie Boys for a long time. Finally, we're going to get a documentary. It's going to be on April 24th on the Apple TV service. I'm sure they'll eventually put it everywhere, and it's going to be in a couple of limited theaters. But we're going to finally get a Beastie Boys documentary, which I think is awesome.
I think it's totally deserved. We were talking earlier about the music industry and longevity. Those guys... are way more influential in rap and hip hop than anybody realizes.
Absolutely.
They were in on the ground floor.
White rappers.
And, from the early 80s, and they've made music for 30 years.
Yep.
Plus. I mean, they still make music. Of course, it's not all of them anymore because we have lost one, but
MCA.
Yeah, I mean, totally influential.
And well respected in the industry. I mean, they were brilliant. Seeing a documentary with them, I think is going to be great. If you don't know Beastie Boys, I don't know why you're watching the show or listening to this.
Again, thank you for hanging out with us.
But good day, sir. Good day.
Yeah.
Because the Beastie.
Ask your parents about it; they'll know.
Yeah. Hey, go YouTube Paul Revere. Just YouTube Paul Revere.
On how young you are, maybe your grandparents, but if your grandparents did their job, then your parents will also know who they are.
Yeah. Oh, you know who I want everybody else to know as well? Is this piece of shit David Levette. I think it's Levette.
No.
Yeah, he's just a complete and utter asswipe, and you're gonna hear that sound so often throughout this story, I can't even tell you. So over here in Massachusetts, the bordering state from the beautiful and luscious Rhode Island, in a Target store, there was an Oral-B toothbrush, and it was listed as a penny, 1 cent, or not. Yeah, I think it was 1 cent. And they do that because, and if you work in retail, you know that there's sometimes these kind of like a place card holder that is just there, even on the demo unit, to say it's a demo unit. So when you go to take inventory, that's checked in as well. It's not it's not a sales tag. And you got to be an idiot to think that an $80 toothbrush is going to be on sale for a penny. I mean, you got to be some kind of moron for that. Even at the Christmas season, you might be gullible, but odds are you shouldn't be that fucking stupid, you idiot. So this guy goes in there and he wants to get it. He goes to the register. It doesn't ring out for that, obviously. Calls over the manager. So this manager, Tory, just gets ridiculed by this guy, Free. I mean, torn up by this dude. So much so that he even posted on social media. And if in the pictures that he shows a picture of her, who I can tell you from working in retail, she was annoyed and just like, dude, just leave.
Right.
The picture of the actual tag, which clearly says the word demo on it, and then the loose, half-assed translation of the law itself about honoring, said things. And they even conducted called a lawyer, and he said that this was bullshit. But my bigger problem is this Twitter troll, David Levette. He claims to be a multimedia journalist who's worked for CBS, Access, Yahoo, and a bunch of others. I don't know if he's worked for any of these people, but he is a generic asshole. This douche canoe actually tried to enforce the law by calling the police on this Target employee. What the hell is wrong with you? You can't be that much of a douche canoe to be able to do something like this. You called the police.
He can. Obviously he can. And that's not even the worst things that he's done, but
oh my gosh, his Twitter account, he's just, what an asshole. I mean, there's no other easy way to say it. They actually started, because of the harassment that this guy was giving her, somebody started a GoFundMe for it, which raised like $30,000. Target got involved, made a social media account with Target Tory, which she was actually kind of funny. She posted some funny things like, it was a great picture he took, I was fully made up, that type of thing. So she's been taking it, and she's going on a vacation. Target gave her a vacation. She took her vacation, whatever she was going to do. Donated some of the money, going on a trip with the other ones. And then this douche canoe, still being a dick, takes to Twitter again and says, I'm giving away vacations. Who's next? Like, you're just douchebag. You are literally the king douchebag.
What about the tweet that he did right after the bombing at the arena in England?
Oh. I implore people to go check him out.
People actually died, and then he's on Twitter within, I want to say minutes, could have been a little bit longer, joking about it.
We're tasteless, Free. We are. On this show, we are tasteless, but we are not that tasteless.
No,
to do something like that.
We're. I wouldn't say we're tasteless. I would say that.
Really, you wouldn't say we were tasteless, Free?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay. The let's talk about the YMCA museum. The YMCA museum photo. How about the Whitney Houston joke?
I wouldn't say we're tasteless. I would say that we are rude and abrasive. But there are certain lines that we're not going to cross.
Yeah, and being too soon on things is also the same thing. He's just a piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit.
Yeah, basically, if we're calling someone out and saying this, they've got really bad.
You've got some issues. Before we go today and wrap up the show, I just wanted to ask you about one thing, and that was the fucking snow that you got, which I thought was great. So before, let me say this first before you respond. I get a text message asking if we could start a little bit later because I get a selfie picture, which is a brilliant picture. I should post it one day.
Do it. Post it, man.
Fremo.
Do I not look completely annoyed?
Yes. Down south, looking completely friggin' annoyed with 3 inches of thick, nasty snow coming down. Just annoyed as hell that now he's going to deal with all this shit and the milk and bread and egg run and dealing with driving. Yeah, all that. I live in the Northeast. I live in the Northeast.
Panicked.
Yes, everybody's panicking down south.
$600 on food at the grocery store over the last couple of days, stocking everything up for the month. And we literally have enough food we could for 2 months and we'd be fine. But oh my God, there's snow on the ground, so go get that bread and milk before they run out.
Panic. It's absolutely great. And up here, I have to admit, as used to the Northeast is with snow, there's still the constant panic, like, oh my God, it's going to snow, I got to get to the store. And you'll get to the store on the day it snows to get milk or something because you need it, and like half the shelves will be wiped out because people are nervous from the blizzard that we had in 1978. They're still affected by it. But
yeah,
up here, 3 inches of snow, I mean, we're not even blinking. We know the snow that you got. We've lived through it 100 times, but that's not even, I mean, not even a late to school. Not even school opening an hour late for
Oh, yeah.
3
Yeah,
to
today's
6
been
inches
school
that you
day.
got.
In fact, it's Saturday, so school's not in session, but it did snow this weekend, so they may be out Monday.
Yeah, but my favorite part was when Fremo called me, and I'm used to the snow. So let me say that in the Northeast, we're used to driving in this crap. And we know first and foremost that even if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, that doesn't mean shit unless you're like door deep in a snowbank. And then your 4-wheel drive will help if you have the right wheels. But outside of that, on a matted down side street or main road that has matted down snow, your 4-wheel drive doesn't matter for shit. All 4 wheels will slide. So Fremo's on the phone with me, telling me about the snow and how shitty it is, and how he's got to go to the store. And he chuckles. He's like, yeah, some ass just passed me in a 4-wheel drive truck. He's like, he's flying. I'm looking forward to seeing him later. Karma's a bitch. And not even like 4 minutes into the phone conversation, Fremo just busts out laughing. You take it from there, Free.
Well, I came over this little hill. It's a 4-lane divided highway. In time to see these taillights like one last time spinning around, and they were.
So what you saw was the Great New England taillight, headlight.
Yeah, well, I just saw the end of it, but you could see the tire tracks where he'd started sliding and tried to correct, and then you could see the big spiral swirls where he did at least three before he ended up coming to a stop. And I lost it. I started laughing. I did stop and make sure that he was okay, like not hurt.
Don't look over here.
Nothing to see here. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. So I went on, but yeah, I totally called it.
Yeah, that was great. We see that a lot up here, especially around the holiday time where there's people that are visiting. You can always tell the people, because like you'll get to an off ramp or an on ramp to the highway where it usually says 30. Honestly, you do 40, 45. You can hold the corner. It's not a big deal. You should probably go slower, but that speed's okay. Not when it snows in New England. Not even a little. Yeah. You will go for a ride, and people down south.
That 30 warning sign, you know, you're doing 15 just to be sure.
Just to be sure, correct. Because it's just going to suck to be you. And you'll see these people like going towards that, and you're like, oh, I'm taking that exit too. Oh, he's coming in hot there. Coming in a little hot there, buddy. Coming in. And then you'll see the whole car like bump, because he just went over the side curb and ended up in the grass and locked it up there. And you just drive by and you wave. In New England, that's what we do. It's so common in New England that we don't even bother checking to see if they're okay unless there's actual damage. But if they just bumped, it's like, AAA will be here soon, buddy. You just move along with your day. But I just thought it was great that you got snow like that. I wish I was down there with you. Oh,
it was totally unexpected too. I mean, they weren't calling for any snow. We went to bed last night, early this morning, about 3:00 when we finally got done watching the show. Binge watching is going to actually. There's going to be a new classification from the medical examiner before it's all over with, I'm sure. Cause of death, binge watching. Oh yeah, he's a 20-year binge watcher. She finally got it with.
He's been binging for a long time.
But yeah, woke up. The sun comes out and wake up, and man, it must be a lot later than I think it is because of how bright it is in the room.
Yeah,
it was that bright because all the reflection off the snow.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think we're going to be okay. The temperature is about to get back down into freezing, so I'm going to sit on my front porch and watch people slide down the road the rest of the evening.
Yeah, that does not get old.
Get their errands run before the temperature dropped.
And now they're just sliding away.
It's going to be a sheet of ice.
Yep. It is entertaining. I will admit to it as well. Like you'll see people driving in New England, and you'll be like, "Oh, you're a new guy, aren't you?" Yeah, you shouldn't be going down the street when it snows, buddy. The street's too steep. We all move around, go around it. Well, I don't have anything else for this week. Do you?
Well, I was just, back to, you said something about Xeon processors earlier, and it triggered something in me. I remember where I saw that at.
Where?
On my new P52 laptop.
Oh, here we go.
Shut up!
Yeah, it's going to be fun to play with you on that.
Yeah, I got Fro on it. He's here for the weekend. I've got him on it. He's getting everything downloaded and installed for me, so I can just start gaming.
Cool. Look forward to seeing you on there. We look forward to seeing everybody else. Stick Style Show on Twitch. And you can usually find me and Freemo, same names you see on the screen here, on pretty much every single platform. You're not going to get it wrong.
Yeah, except Facebook. You won't find me on Facebook.
Hell no, you're not going to find me on there either.
Or Twitter, or actually any social media. I don't do social media. It's my shtick, I guess.
It is your shtick.
But if you want to send me an email, I'll respond, and
Phoenix will relay any message.
I do have a phone number, and I'll hand it out freely.
And we are on Discord now. So if you look at Phoenix Media Group on Discord, that is our server where you'll find most of the shows. That's the way we're going to have it right now. So that's it for this week. Tense down. Show's over.
I'm excited. Wait. Hold on. I'm excited about that laptop because it awesome. Means I'm going to be able to game without using the console, which is constantly playing some sort of show.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
I'll get a little more gaming time in now.
And I hate to say it, but I do like Overwatch right now. I do like it.
I'm gonna see if I can get him on that then. Get that on there now.
Cool. All right,
man.
That's it for this week. Tense down. Show's over.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find more of this funny stuff at BGFGonline.com. Please click on the donate button. This is a user-contributed show. And follow us on Twitter at BGFG Online and Facebook, Phoenix Media Group. See you.